Welcome back, everybody. Beautiful day here in central New Hampshire, one of the last few days of the winter, and we're taking advantage of this weather to bolster our Strategic Firewood Reserve. So if you're like us, you rely on this stuff for 6 months out of the year, all winter, spring and fall, to keep your house warm and livable. But whether you burn as much as us or not, I wanted to walk you through our mindset on why you want to keep on hand more than you need, for all kinds of reasons. But today we're going to walk you through cutting some trees down, show you our tool set, how we get this out of the forest, and it'll be a fun one, so stay tuned. This always turns out to be an interesting day of the year. We set the clocks ahead this morning. Sun must have wore these last, they're a little tight. But 16 degrees when I woke up this morning, and yeah, so I didn't bring a jacket out, but the chaps tend to keep me warm, but until I get to working, a little chilly. Oh, he tightened all these straps. Safety first. So I know no two people are at the exact same place in their firewood journey, but folks are still interested where I'm at. So I started with an old chainsaw. I just had one and could hardly get it started, and then I struggled to keep it running, and a splitting maul, and that worked fine. I was able to do quite a bit, and there's no reason you can't build a strong strategic firewood reserve with those two tools. But we've graduated since then, and we have the tractor, which is obviously helpful if you need to move your firewood any amount of distance. You can see we've got some distance to cover out here, or pull the logs out of the woods to start, so the tractor's wildly helpful for that. And then we've got quite a few saws now. This is the medium duty saw. This is a Husqvarna 545. It works great and can do just most anything that our bigger saw can do. It just takes a little longer. And then our bigger saw, more powerful, is the Husqvarna 572 XP. That thing's awesome. It's quite the workout to wield it for a small guy like me anyways. Quite the workout to wield it half a day, or especially all day. But it does a lot of work quickly. So just wanted to mention that. No matter where you are in the journey, you can start your own strategic reserve without much trouble, and I recommend it. So any of you that have been following along the channel, you probably have noticed that we've got a bit of a yard expansion project going on behind me here. I'm not going to get into that in this video. We've got a multi-month production going on where I'm going to detail all the steps of the process. So you got to subscribe and stay tuned if you want to see that. A lot of the trees you see behind me, these red oaks, are going to turn into saw logs for our sawmill. Another reason to tune in. But today we're only talking about firewood. I'm going to pick a few of these out. Building a strategic reserve, unless you've got unlimited time and resources, it's going to happen a little bit at a time. But if you chip at it a couple hours at a time, get the family involved, like I'm doing here today, this morning, you couple hours here and a couple hours there, before you know it, you've got quite the pile of firewood. So while wood is the primary heat source for our home, we do supplement wood with heating fuel, propane in our case, for a couple smaller things. So for our for our water heaters, those run on propane, gas stove, range, things like that. And we've got a couple small space heaters, one in the basement we keep running when it's real cold out, just to keep things more comfortable. And I assume a lot of you are in the same boat, so you know very well that the cost of heating fuel has gone up, and it's going to keep going up. I keep a detailed spreadsheet of our heating costs just for our budget purposes, and it's amazing. Over the past 5 years, our propane costs have doubled or more. I assume a lot of you are in the same boat. So one reason, while I'm young, able-bodied, and have a couple hours here and a couple hours there, that we want to bolster our strategic firewood reserve, is not just for us and our family. If our neighbors or family members come on hard times or become injured, it's a great feeling to be able to bless them with firewood if we need to. There's no downside to that, so that's another reason we're out here on a cold March day. got my in-ear plugs going, don't worry. These just aren't super comfortable for me. My ears get to sweating. But I had a gentleman, so I appreciate all your comments on these videos. I read them all, try to respond to them all. I think I do, for the most part. Not always right away, but a gentleman commented on the Grapple video this morning, of all videos, and he was regretting his decision to buy this one. This is an Ironcraft 48-inch Grapple, made in America, super affordable in my opinion. I think it was only like $1,600, and that's going to become more and more important as tariff things come to fruition here. But anyways, he was regretting his decision openly in the comments. So this isn't a end-all be-all by any means, but for my use case, picking up logs, trees, boulders, things like that, it really does work great, and no problems. I think I've had it, I guess it's been more than a year now, but it works great. He mentioned picking up limbs, so picking up after a hurricane. I am going to use the Grapple to pick up all the tops of these trees and put them in a burn pile, but it is a bit tedious if you wanted to use this particular Grapple to pick up a bunch of twigs. It's not really made for that. It'll certainly move the bulk of a brush pile without having to think twice, but as far as picking up twigs, yeah, there's a lot of voids in there, and there's just not enough teeth to grab onto things like that. But I love the Grapple. Saves my back. Yeah, love the Grapple. And one of the reasons we went with the 48-inch model is just partially because it was cheaper to start with, and mainly because it's lighter. This thing weighs less than all the other Grapples, and just barely covers our loader width, and that means the loader can lift more weight because it's not struggling to lift the implement. So that works out real good for us. But you can see from this angle there's quite a few voids, and for firewood like this, I love the thing. It's not great at moving. Once you get it into rounds, it's not going to move. You can pick up 1 or 2 rounds at a time. Great for moving to the giant rounds that you can't get to the splitter any other way, but you don't have to worry about rolling them onto the carryall or rolling them into the bucket. This can pick them up no problem. So I think it's a pretty safe wager that 99% of you or more probably agree that we shouldn't strive to lead our households like the federal government. But with that said, the title of this video was inspired by the news this past week and of recent past about strategic reserve assets and national stockpiles of various things. So just this week it was formalized that the U.S. government now has a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but you're probably more familiar with our petroleum reserves. Those are kept for national security purposes and all other types of things. But the government has stockpiles of all kinds of things. They have stockpiles of cheese. I believe they have a separate reserve of heating fuels for the Northeast or the northern states. Gold. If you believe what you read on the internet, that should be in Fort Knox. We've got stockpiles of all kinds of things, and currently and in the past there's been some extremely intelligent people involved in the federal government that have an inside view of history, world events that we aren't necessarily privy to. But all that to say, there's probably no downside to starting building your strategic firewood reserve today. Even if you're just for campfire wood, there's no downside to having this kind of stuff on hand. I don't think you'll regret putting in the effort here. So you just saw me cut down 2 smallish trees in about an hour. For those of you new to firewood, there's some rules of thumb in place or on the internet. Around here, kind of average size mature maple tree, huge generalities here, but like a 60-foot tall tree that's 18 inches diameter at breast height will probably yield, if you use a decent amount of the limb wood, 2/3 of a cord of firewood. So if you had an idea in your mind about how much firewood you wanted to generate and how many trees it would take you to get there, 18-inch tree, 60-foot tall, probably get you about 2/3 of a cord. And that's generalities, but I figured I'd throw that out there for you. Those of you new to it or trying to get quantities, get your mind wrapped around some quantities of firewood. And for those of you who don't want to take my word for it, there's some ancient wisdom written in the Bible. For instance, it says, "In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oils." And I'm fairly confident that if those stories originated in a colder climate, I think that would include firewood. So I don't think it's unwise to create your own strategic firewood reserve if you have the means. But I think that's all I'll leave you with today. I'm gonna go spend some time with family and enjoy the rest of the day. But I'll see you all very soon. Thanks again for following along. Really appreciate it. Take care. Say bye.
Bye.